the sports department, and he's going to be covering the hockey games. So, what was the date of the hockey game?
Our first game is actually tonight. It's in Syracuse. We're playing Syracuse, obviously the Orange tonight, and tomorrow. And then next week is our first at-home weekend where we take on Davenport Panthers on the Saturday and the Sunday. I'll be doing the Sunday broadcast on 10:10.
10:10. So Sunday. A week Sunday from now?
A week from this Sunday.
A week from this Sunday.
Yeah, we're in Syracuse tonight and tomorrow.
At 10:10, though, you'll be broadcasting on
on October 10th at 12 p.m. That Sunday. I will be broadcasting as part of the station, the Stony Brook hockey game.
October 10th, 12 p.m. Tune in for the Stony Brook hockey game. Jake's going to be broadcasting that. He's going to kill it, and he's got some hockey material related coming up, so...
All right, so obviously tonight your Stony Brook Seawolves will be taking on the Syracuse Orange. Today at 7, tomorrow at 2. It is the beginning of the season. Stony Brook looks for its first ever ACHA championship. They have won 4 ESCHL titles, the Eastern States Collegiate Hockey League, but they have never won the big Div 1 American Collegiate Hockey Association title. Looking for their first one. And be sure to be there at the rinks in Hauppauge next week for their first home game, Saturday and Sunday versus Davenport. You can find out all the information on that on their website. Last season, the 2019-20 season was cut short for them. Your Seawolves went 21-10-1, good for second place in the ESCHL, 12th place ranked for the national tournament. But before that national tournament commenced, it was canceled. COVID-19 took it away from us, but this year the Seawolves look to come back and come back hard as they look for that ever elusive first title. Moving on from the college level, let's talk some pro hockey. The NHL gearing up for their season soon. The first full season in what seems like a very long time. As Luke said, my name is Jake. You can find me on Instagram at BathtubJake, where I cover the New York Islanders. It's a very comedy-oriented page, so don't expect to keep up with the news too much of the Islanders there, but I will do my best to make you laugh. So let's talk about New York hockey. The Islanders and the Rangers both looking for big seasons this year. Could be the first year in a long time where both end up in the playoffs. We'll start with the New York Islanders, the team that has knocked on the door of that Stanley Cup final for the last 2 seasons, but can't seem to make it due to those Tampa Bay Lightning, who defeated them in 6 games in 2020 and 7 games in 2021. Can't seem to get enough goals past Andrei Vasilevsky. Been their biggest problem over the last 2 seasons. And they had a pretty eventful offseason. It didn't feel like that because it happened in bunches, but lots happened for the New York Islanders. They traded Andrew Ladd. They traded Nick Leddy, getting about $11 to $12 million off the books in those moves alone. And they lost Jordan Eberle to the Seattle Kraken in the expansion draft, clearing another $5 million off the books. So the Islanders clearly made money a priority this season. In the last 2, Islanders general manager Lou Lamoriello kind of spurned that and said, hey, I'll just keep things the way they are. But not this year. This year is a big change for the New York Islanders. Obviously, Andrew Ladd wasn't in the lineup, but Nick Leddy led this team in assists. Jordan Eberle had 16 goals, 17 assists in the regular season. Those are 2 big pieces they're going to have to make up for. Nick Leddy, obviously a spectacular puck-moving defenseman. Jordan Eberle, the right winger on that first line next to superstar Matt Barzal. So going to be interesting to see how the Islanders approach that this season. They took care of their own guys this season as well. They re-signed Adam Pelech to an 8-year, $46 million deal. That was their big moment of the offseason, getting one of the best defensemen in the league on an absolute steal of a contract. Lou Lamoriello has been praised across the league for getting that deal done. Casey Cizikas, arguably the heartbeat of the New York Islanders, comes back to the team for 6 years at $2.5 million per year. Clearly want to keep that fourth line of Martin, Cizikas, and Clutterbuck around for the long term. Kyle Palmieri, their trade deadline pickup from last season, around for another 4 years, $5 million. Price tag a little steep for a guy that put up 2 goals in the regular season for the Islanders last season. But He put up 7 in the playoffs, and that's why he's around and Jordan Eberle isn't. He brings that physicality, brings that tough edge to his game. That's a lot more useful in the playoffs than the regular season. So Kyle Palmieri, he puts up 15, 20 goals in the regular season. That's fine. What they're looking for is that Kyle Palmieri of the 2021 playoffs, and if they get that, they're in good shape. Anthony Beauvillier, perhaps their best playoff performer over the last 2 years, back for 3 years. Second in playoff points this year. And of course, the kid, the rookie, Ilya Sorokin, the superstar in the making goaltender, carried the Islanders past their first round matchup against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Had a .918 save percentage in his rookie year. He's back for 3 years at $4 million, a great price tag for an up-and-coming goaltender in this league who may be taking a starting role sooner rather than later. Semyon Varlamov has not practiced with this team at training camp, the Islanders starting goaltender. He has not been around. He has not played a preseason game. Ilya Sorokin has. He's let up 0 goals. And Semyon Varlamov last year received Vezina votes for the best goaltender in the league, had a .929 save percentage, and he might not be there for the Islanders at the start of the season, and Ilya Sorokin is going to have to rise to that challenge, if that may be, and it's a very comfortable position for the New York Islanders knowing that they can count on their backup goaltender to be there to lead them to a couple of early season wins. And they didn't only just keep their guys, the Islanders, they added some. And they added some guys, some veteran presence in the form of Zach Parise and Zdeno Chara. Zach Parise, winger from the Minnesota Wild, only put up 7 goals last year in kind of a limited role for him, but he has a chip on his shoulder, says he's got a lot more good hockey left in him, and the Islanders are hoping that he can add that in their middle six, perhaps slotting next to center J.G. Pageau on that third line. But before the 7-goal season, he put up 25 in 60 games and put up 28 in 70 before that, so an older Zach Parise still got some goals left in him, I believe. But the big offseason acquisition, and when I say big, I mean big, 6'9", Zdeno Chara, 44 years old, comes back home. He was drafted by the New York Islanders 25 years ago. He was traded for the New York Islanders at the turn of the century, and now he's back on the island, rocking the number 33 that he rocked in Boston, and they are looking for him to stabilize the blue line with Noah Dobson, perhaps the Islanders' 21-year-old who's entering his second full season in the NHL. Zdeno Chara was obviously a big mentor to Charlie McAvoy over in Boston, to Torrey Krug over in Boston, and Barry Trotz has spoken highly of that leadership role Zdeno Chara has had in his career and hopes to have that same effect on Dobson. So Zdeno Chara slotting into the lineup. We don't know where just yet. They're thinking with Dobson could be on that middle pair with Mayfield. One of the big storylines going into this season is just how many defensemen the Islanders have. Pelech and Pulock seem to be a lock for that top pair. They are 2 of the best in the league at shutting down top players. But as far as those bottom 4 defensemen go, it could be a jumble. We don't know. You got Sebastian Aho, Eric Gustafsson, all in the background as perhaps your 7 or 8 D-man. But then, do you go Zdeno Chara and Scott Mayfield and go for the biggest pair in the NHL? Do you match up Chara and Dobson to get that rookie mentorship going on? Do you go with Andy Green and Noah Dobson again, just like last year? I don't know. It's going to be a tough question for the New York Islanders to answer. And the biggest one is whether those guys could make up for the loss of Nick Leddy. Had 29 assists in 55 games last season. That is a tall order. That is a lot of offense coming from your blue line. And they're hoping a guy like Noah Dobson, who's going to be eating a lot more minutes this season, can step up in that role. And making up for Jordan Eberle on the offensive side of things won't be easy either. Looking at a guy like Oliver Wahlstrom, 21 years old, to perhaps slide into a first-line role, maybe on the third line with Pageau and Parise. Don't know just yet. Barry Trotz was quoted this morning saying he hasn't been too crazy about the preseason and the camp for Oliver Wahlstrom. Didn't look too impressive in the preseason game against the Flyers just a couple nights ago, and you got to feel the pressure's on him. He didn't play in the later series of the playoffs last season. So where will Wahlstrom fit into the lineup? We don't know. Will he be on that top line? Will Kyle Palmieri be on that top line? And how will the power play slot out with all these forwards going around? But perhaps the biggest thing to come out of the Islanders offseason is they get their captain back. Anders Lee tore his ACL in March of last season, was absolutely destroying it in front of the net for the Islanders. He put up 13 goals in just over 25 games, I believe. And out for the playoffs, out for the remainder of that season. The Islanders desperately missed him. They made it to the conference finals without their best goal scorer, and now they have him back. And Matt Barzal said he looks even faster this year, so the Islanders are absolutely overjoyed to have this guy back. He'll be leading the team on the ice. He'll be leading the team in the room again. And could he be the missing piece? Would Anders Lee have led to the Islanders winning the Stanley Cup last year? We don't know. But could this be the year they do it now? They have him back. They have all this depth on the blue line. They have tons of forward options to score goals. Scoring goals has been the one thing that's evaded the Islanders come late in the playoffs these last 2 years. This could be it for the New York Islanders. They wouldn't surprise me if they fall short again in one of those second or third round matchups with a tough team. But with a team like Tampa Bay regressing, with a team like Boston saying the same, with a team like the Washington Capitals staying the same, the Islanders just might kick down the door they've been knocking at for the last 2 years. Moving on into the city, we have the New York Rangers. The New York Rangers are perhaps the most interesting case in the league. They are in the toughest division, no doubt. And last year they managed to finish 5th in the division, 11 points behind the New York Islanders. They missed the playoffs, but I sense a lot of optimism amongst Ranger fans out there that this could be the year they turn that ship around. They got a lot of bright spots on this team. Adam Fox, perhaps the best defenseman in the league. Well, he won the Norris Trophy, and the Norris Trophy says it right on it, that is the best defender in the league. Artemi Panarin was a Hart nominee just 2 years ago, was well over a point per game again this year. Mika Zibanejad had put up 41 goals in 57 games 2 years ago. Started last season slow, but managed to put up well over 20 goals again in a shortened season. So get that guy, get the puck on his stick. He's always good late in the season for those big clutch games. Keandre Miller, big over 6 foot defenseman, slotting in on that middle pair with Jacob Trouba. He's going to be a big piece this year on the defensive side of the game. The Rangers have tended to bleed goals. They let up a lot of goals. Keandre Miller, big, strong, young defenseman. They're going to count on him a lot. Nils Lundqvist, speaking of defensemen, put up 32 points in the SHL in Sweden, and he won the Best Defenseman award, and it's looking like he's going to be on that bottom pair, perhaps with Patrick Nemeth or Jared Tenorti this season. So the Rangers going to be one of the youngest teams in the league. They're going to count on these young guys big time to carry them into what will be their first playoff appearance in a long, long time. And two of the guys I haven't mentioned yet, Capo Caco, put up only 17 points in his sophomore season. Alexis Lafreniere put up 21 points in his rookie season. Capo was the second pick in the 2019 draft. Lafreniere was the first pick in the 2020 draft. The Rangers absolutely need to have more from this guy. Caco himself, on the cusp of potentially being labeled a bust. I don't know, if you're putting up 17 points in your second season, those are not good numbers. They're going to need more from him, but perhaps the biggest changes in the Rangers come from management. Jeff Gordon out, Chris Drury in. Coach David Quinn out, Coach Gerard Gallant in. They re-signed their star goaltender, Igor Shesterkin, for 4 years at $5.6 million. He's one of the best goaltenders in the league. At this young age, playing only a few seasons, he is a sensational. Sees the puck well, he's a technician in that net. And they're hoping that the structure brought by new coach Gallant can help him out, as he faced a lot of shots last season. But the main goal for this New York Rangers team is they're trying to be tough. They took a lot of criticism late in the season last year as they faced the Islanders and the Capitals, and they got beat up in those games. Physically, on the score sheet, they let those teams run away. They beat them into the ground, and the Rangers are trying to change that. They signed Barclay Goodrow, one of the grinders of the Tampa Bay Lightning, won the Cup the last 2 years, to a $3.6 million deal for 6 years. His point totals are okay, but they're trying to be harder to play against. They traded out Pavel Buchnevich, 48 points last season in 54 games. That's a lot of points to make up for. Coming back in that trade was Sammy Blais from the St. Louis Blues. They got Ryan Reeves from the Vegas Golden Knights. These are both heavy hitters. Ryan Reeves is one of the top enforcers in the league. He's got 71 career fighting majors. He's 34 years old. He can still bang. There's no doubt about that. So these Rangers are trying to be tough. They're trying to add some grit to a team that's all been about high flying, goals, back and forth hockey. The Rangers, will this grit make up for the loss of skill? That's the big question for the Rangers. They still got a lot of top-end talent. I mean, they got Adam Fox, Artemi Panarin, Ryan Strome, Mika Zibanejad. They're going to get points. There's no doubt about that. But can they stop letting up the goals, and will this grit help them? And the big storylines are obviously their young guns. Fox, he's got to keep it up. He's got to have another year just like that. A guy like Capo Caco, is he running out of time? Alexis Lafreniere, big year. Mika Zibanejad, keep that consistency going. And the big question is, will they make the playoffs? I personally think this is the year the New York Rangers, they're going to make it this year. Mark my words, I think the New York Rangers get that 4 spot. I think the Pittsburgh Penguins losing Crosby and Malkin early on will hurt them. I think the Washington Capitals are going to take a little bit of a hit, and I think the Carolina Hurricanes are not as good as they were last season. So the Rangers will make the playoffs this year, in my opinion. I personally hope they don't. I'm a New York Islanders fan, but nothing will make me happier than seeing the Islanders beat the Rangers in the first round next year. And I will close it out with the Islanders win song here on Stony Brook WUSB 90.1 FM. It's Maxine Nightingale, right back where we started from.